Then I got a job at Florida A&M University. I applied for a jazz teaching job, teaching jazz saxophone, and got it. So next thing you know, I moved down to Tallahassee and taught jazz saxophone at FAMU.
Pretty good. Now, is this the tale that you were doing I want you to cover something that I remember you telling me, but I can't remember the specifics.
Okay.
Where you were doing a competition someplace and you played the music of Thelonious Monk. Was that the link that
That's you remember well.
All
yes.
right, what's the tale here? Because I think it's an illustrative and kind of an interesting approach.
It's a little long. You don't mind the long-winded
I
tale?
don't care, man. We got plenty. We got endless time here. These digital formats, we're not going to run out of tape.
It's all just the tape's not going to go. At the
It does. There's a much bigger problem.
exactly right. Yeah, we'll get error messages on the screen.
Yeah,
you have run out of memory. So I had. So the beginning of the story is that I think as a senior in college, I had applied to a jazz saxophone competition sponsored by NASA. The North American.
Shooting people into space, NASA?
Yes. No, not that NASA. No, the North American Saxophone Alliance, NASA.
Okay.
They still are called NASA. And
Interesting.
North American Saxophone Alliance had a jazz competition as part of their conference. And you sent a tape in, and they took 3 finalists. And I got to be one of the finalists. And another buddy of mine from Eastman was another finalist. And then there was a third finalist. I think he was from North Texas. And both the other guys were great players. And it was we got along really well. And it wasn't a bad situation between us. The rules of the contest were that we had to basically prepare a 20-minute set, and we were going to play our 20-minute set. They were providing a rhythm section. It was a rhythm section from the military band that was stationed there. I think it was in Fort Myer. I don't remember which band the rhythm section came from, but and at the time I was really into Thelonious Monk, so I sort of prepared a whole set of Thelonious Monk tunes. The other requirement, though, was that we had to play Stella by Starlight. It was like everyone had to play Stella by Starlight, and then the rest of the tunes you chose yourself. Mm-hmm. So because I was so into Monk, I sort of put together, I don't want to call it arranged. In retrospect, it was a little bit highfalutin, maybe a little... I don't know what I could say about it, except it wasn't great.
Okay.
I put together a version of Stella by Starlight for which it was meant to be in the style of Thelonious Monk.
Okay.
And I specifically was meant to be like the Thelonious Monk tune Skippy, which actually was the same harmony that Monk used for T for 2.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
So the first chord was was A flat 7, A flat 13, flat 9. I don't remember exactly how it went. Basically,
Sure.
the chords just went around a circle of fifths, and then just like Skippy for the last. In the last 4 bars, they started moving in quarter notes rather than in half notes.
Okay.
Rhythm section did not know what to make of this at all. They were like, they just expected to play Stella by Starlight, and I'm handing them lead sheets for Stella by Starlight with completely different changes. Anyway, it did not go very well. The other tunes I played, I guess they were okay. I did a maybe Ask Me Now, the Monk ballad. Mm-hmm. I did a blues. Gosh, maybe I also did In Walked Bud or something like that.
Sure.
So, play my set. The other people play theirs. I think I must have gone first or second. So I played my 20 minutes, walked around, and I walked into the back of the auditorium to listen. And then when the other players were done, and it was in an auditorium, and there was an audience, right? Because it was a big conference, so there was probably 200 people in the audience. Mm-hmm. So afterwards, I walked from there into the hallway behind the auditorium, or front of the auditorium, basically where the doors were, and everybody was filing out. And I distinctly remember standing there, my suit and tie and with my saxophone, and everybody filing out, literally like looking past me, so they didn't have to make eye contact. So I realized that they hated my playing so much that they couldn't even muster up a thank you for coming. Like
Sure.
thank you for driving 6 hours to Virginia to come here.
Yeah.
And so I stood there just feeling sorry for myself and looking like an idiot for about 10 minutes. And then Pat Meehan, this classical saxophone teacher at Florida State, who just retired a couple of years ago, walked up to me and he said, "Hey, Mike, my name is Pat. I'm the saxophone teacher at Florida State. I just want to tell you," I'm paraphrasing here, but I just want to tell you that I really appreciate that you didn't try to win the contest. You just tried to make music, and you put together a musical set that was meaningful and musical, and it showed what you were all about. I heard who you were, and it was a great musical. It was a great set of jazz. He said, "I don't care who wins the competition." He said, "Anytime you want to come down to Florida State, you're more than welcome in any capacity whatsoever." And he was the only person who really said anything to me afterwards.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't even think about it because it was polite. I felt like it was polite, but I didn't really get the depth of it until later. I didn't get
Sure.
that this really meant something, that someone would actually say that. I didn't realize that that's just not the kind of thing that people say.
Right. You really have to. Yeah. He has to be paying attention and really care about it.
Yes.
It's better than a sounds great, man.
Right. Yes. Right. So yeah, I didn't care. I didn't care that people didn't lie. Like I wouldn't want them to lie and say, "Oh, that was great."
Sure.
But it would have been nice for them to say thank you for coming.
Yeah, I get it. Sure.
So fast forward 3 or 4 years, whenever it was that so if that was like 90 or 91, and I played for the job in 93, 3 or 4 years later, I got the job, and then I found out from the guy who hired me that he wasn't a saxophonist, so he had sort of showed the list of names to Pat, because across the railroad tracks, and from FAMU to Florida State is the other side of town. I didn't even make this connection that he showed him, and he apparently saw my name and said, "Oh, that's someone you should take a second look at." So
Sure.
I think that's how I got to the short list. Basically, was that he remembered me from the thing.
Because you had chosen to do something distinctive, because you don't chosen to follow your own path in some respects.
That's what I take from this. That's exactly what I take from it, is that had I chosen to try to impress and play fast and work up a really sort of chopsy thing, maybe I could have won the contest. I don't know. Who knows? The other players were really good too, so yeah, I don't take that for granted. But I could have tried harder to win. Instead, I really did just try to say, "Well, this is what I'm studying right now. This is who I am. I'm studying Monk. I'm going to play a bunch of Monk tunes."
Sure.
And,
But in my mind, that's what makes jazz music, or improvised music, or creative music in whatever capacity, is the idea that what you're going for, there may be technical facility is a means to an end, but the end is being able to create your own, is to be able to express your own viewpoints.
Amen, brother.
Even if that is Thelonious Monk. What I always think about is, I feel like if Thelonious Monk entered the Thelonious Monk competition nowadays, like if he came back from the grave, like he'd lose they'd be like, "What is this?"
Yeah, crash and burn. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But because he did his own thing, he's become such a monumental icon in, American music.